So, have you ever really stopped and wondered, what comes next? I mean, it's got to be one of the biggest questions we can possibly ask ourselves, right? Well, today, we're going to dive into a really fascinating answer to that question, one that kind of flips a very common belief on its head. We're going to look at reincarnation from the perspective of the Baha'i writings, and honestly, what we find might just surprise you.
You know, this question isn't new, not by a long shot. It's been whispered around campfires and debated in great halls for as long as we've been human. It's the ultimate mystery, the great unknown that every single one of us has to face. And the answers we've come up with over the centuries, they're just as diverse and incredible as we are. And one of the most powerful and, let's face it, popular answers is reincarnation. The idea that our soul comes back, again and again, to keep learning, to keep growing. It's a story that resonates with a lot of people. But what if that's not the whole picture? What if our journey isn't a circle at all, but a straight line, an infinite path always moving forward? Okay, so to really get our heads around the Baha'i perspective, we first need to understand what we're talking about when we say reincarnation. Our source for this deep dive, a book called Some Answered Questions, actually breaks this belief down into two main schools of thought. Let's take a look. So on one side, you've got what we can call reincarnation for recompense. The idea here is that this world, this is it. This is the main stage. Heaven and hell, they happen right here in our next lives. It's the ultimate system of reward and punishment. Sometimes this even includes transmigration, the idea that you could come back as an animal. Then on the other side, there's reincarnation for perfection. This group believes in a spiritual world beyond this one, but they see coming back here as a necessary training ground for the soul to become perfect. All right, now that we've got that foundation, we can get to the heart of the Baha'i explanation. And it's really important to say this up front. This isn't about telling anyone their beliefs are wrong. Not at all. Think of it as an invitation to reason together, to logically explore why a direct, literal return to this world just might not be possible.
The whole argument really hinges on this one beautiful principle, that the physical world we can see and touch is a mirror of a much greater spiritual reality. Everything we see out here gives us clues about what's going on in there, in the unseen world. Once you grasp this idea, it's like a key that unlocks everything that follows.
So, using this principle of the world as a mirror, Abdu'l-Baha in our source builds his case with four really clear lines of reasoning. Let's walk through them one by one.
First up is what the writings call the sign of divine unity. Just look around you. I mean, really look. Scientists tell us that no two snowflakes are ever perfectly identical. No two fingerprints, no two leaves on a tree. This incredible infinite variety is a sign of a single, limitless creator. So if that's the rule in the physical world, in the mirror, how could a unique spiritual being, a human soul, be an exact repeat? It just doesn't fit the pattern of creation.
The second point is a really practical, logical question. If the whole point of coming back is to gain virtues and become perfect, well, why go through the whole drama of death and rebirth? Wouldn't it be a lot more efficient if God just gave us a longer life to get it all done in one go? The whole process seems like a bit of an unnecessary detour, doesn't it? Now let's talk about that famous analogy for reincarnation. I'm sure you've heard it. The soul is like water, and the body is the cup. The cup breaks, and the water just gets poured into a new one. It's a simple, catchy image. But our source points out that this analogy, as nice as it sounds, completely misunderstands what a soul actually is. Yeah, the source actually calls it a childish notion. And not to be harsh, but because it treats the spirit like a physical thing that can be poured. The spirit is incorporeal. It's not made of matter. It doesn't physically enter or exit the body. A much better way to think about it is like the sun and a mirror. The sun's light appears in the mirror, but the sun itself doesn't climb inside it. It's a connection of reflection, not containment. So this leads us to a really interesting puzzle. If the return of a specific soul is logically speaking impossible, then why do so many of the world's holy books talk about return? This is the big pivot point. It's not that the scriptures are wrong, it's that we might be misunderstanding what that word return really means. And here it is. This is the absolute key. When the sacred writings talk about return, they're not talking about the return of a specific person, of you or me. They're talking about the return of qualities, of virtues, of spiritual perfections. It's the recurrence of the attributes, not the individual essence.
Let me give you this simple analogy from the book. Imagine we have a lamp lit in this room tonight. Tomorrow night, we light a new lamp. We might say, oh, the light is back. But we don't mean that the exact same flame from last night has magically reappeared. We mean the qualities of the light, its brightness, its ability to illuminate the room, have returned.
Or think about a garden. Last year, it was full of gorgeous flowers. This spring, new flowers bloom, and we say, the beauty of the garden has returned. We know for a fact that these aren't the exact same physical flowers from last year, but the beauty, the fragrance, the vibrancy, those qualities are back.
And this is how we can understand those scriptural passages. So when the gospel says that John the Baptist was the return of the prophet Elijah, it's not saying that Elijah's individual soul was put into John's body. No, it's saying that the same spirit, the same divine power, the same amazing qualities that shone through Elijah were now shining through John the Baptist. It's the return of the light, not the lamp.
So if return is about qualities, not individuals, it completely changes the picture of the soul's journey. It opens up a vision that is so much grander. It makes you ask, if we're not just circling back here over and over, then where in the world, or out of it, are we going?
And the source puts this so powerfully. To think that this whole mind-bogglingly vast universe was created just for us to keep cycling through lives on this one little planet, well, it would make the entire cosmic drama a childish game. It would mean that existence has no real ultimate purpose. I mean, just stop for a second and try to comprehend the scale of the physical universe. Billions of galaxies, trillions of stars, it just goes on beyond anything we can imagine. And remember, that's just the mirror. If the reflection is this infinite, how much more glorious, how much more endless must be the spiritual reality it's reflecting? To think our whole journey is stuck here seems to put a limit on a limitless God.
And that leads us to the final, amazing conclusion of this perspective. The journey of your soul, of my soul, is not a circle. It's not a revolving door. It's a straight line. It's an arrow shot from the bow of God into eternity. We are travelers on an infinite road, always moving forward, always progressing through countless worlds of God that we can't even imagine yet.
So we're left with this huge shift in thinking. We started by asking what happens after we die. But maybe the real question is about what this life is for. What if it's not a test we have to retake, but the very first step on an incredible, endless journey? What if the point isn't about coming back at all, but about always moving forward?